Hey everyone, it's BlueLizardJello, and welcome back to Everything Possible in Dark Souls 1, and today is our finale. We will be descending down into the Kiln of the First Flame, and we will be laying to rest Gwyn, the Lord of Cinder. We're using a Silver Knight Straight Sword +5, the shield, as well as the entire armor set of these Silver Knights, and we are doing so with a reason. As far as our rings, we're using the Ring of Favor and Protection, we're using the Covetous Gold Serpent Ring for drops, but we will be swapping out the Hornet Ring for the actual fight with Gwyn, just in case we can actually get a parry off. And here are my current stats. The reason I've decided to go with the Silver Knight armor and weapon set is that it feels fitting that one of Gwyn's own men would actually be the one to finally lay him to rest.
Stay still for a moment.
When he left Anor Londo in order to link the fire, he split his knights, and the Silver Knights remained in Anor Londo to continue protecting the city, whereas the other knights went with him to the Kiln of the First Flame, and they were burned by the still hot ashes, and they are the ones who became hollow and are now the Black Knights that are wandering around Lordran. As a member of the Silver Knight with my wits still about me, it is my responsibility in order to finally finish what Lord Gwyn had started. In order to access the Kiln of the First Flame, we do have to come to the Firelink altar and offer up the Lord Souls that we've been collecting throughout our journey. As we descend the stairs into the kiln, we are greeted by some of the ghosts of our men that have fallen before us. Members of the group of knights that used to follow and serve Lord Gwyn in life and continue on in death. Just taking one quick look, you can already see exactly how my brethren knights were able to become so charred, so burned, and become hollow. Clearly this area has been inhospitable for quite some time, and the blast that must have occurred in order to create these piles of ashes must have been great. And you can see some of my brethren now. We will be faced with 5 Black Knights in this area, and if you're looking for the Black Knight set, or if you want to farm chunks of a particular type, you can do so here, because all 5 of these Black Knights will respawn indefinitely. As a reminder, as you kill the Black Knights, you can always pick up a shield from any one of them, and you can also pick up the weapon that they are wielding. This first knight will always drop a regular titanite chunk. This second Black Knight wields a great sword, and whether or not you get his shield or his weapon, you will always get a red titanite chunk from him. Proceeding past these dunes of ash, onto these narrow walkways approaching the actual kiln, we can see another Black Knight off in the distance, but there actually is one shiny for us to get, something that many of you have probably wanted this entire game, and we'll see that momentarily. For this knight, I like to actually draw him back onto this horizontal platform. It is wider and a little bit safer, and if you want to parry like I do, it seems just a little bit easier to pull off here than it is on that narrow bridge. You can see that I go for the parry, riposte, and then the chain backstab. Easy to take them out, and I get the Black Knight sword and a titanite chunk, which is his guaranteed drop. But over on this corpse behind this pillar, we can finally obtain the entire Black Knight set. Again, the difference between the Silver Knights and the Black Knights are that the Black Knights were once Silver Knights, who followed Gwyn here to the Kiln of the First Flame, and were subsequently burned for their efforts. Down to the right is where we can go and face the Lord Gwyn, but over here on the left, because we were able to finish Knight Solaire's questline, he is available for summon, and we will be bringing him in with us as we fight Lord Gwyn. This next Black Knight that we'll be facing is using the Great Axe. Circle around for the chain backstab. And he gives us his shield as well as a white titanite chunk. Only one more knight stands in between us and our final adversary. We parry this halberd-wielding knight as Solaire desperately tries to get in a hit. And we get his halberd, and we get a blue titanite chunk. But now, it is time. We've been through a lot in this character, but it is finally time for our story to end, at least temporarily. Here is Gwyn, the Lord of Cinder. If you pay attention to his hand, he is relatively easy to parry, and that jumping attack that I unfortunately missed is actually one of the biggest windows for parrying that he's going to offer you. Keep in mind, even if you have Solaire or if you have another summon, some of his swings are so wide that even if you are behind, you can actually take that residual damage, much of which is flame damage. So if you have a good fire defense shield, it can actually really help you out in this fight. That kick can be very devastating for you shield users, so if you are trying to block and you see that wind up, make sure you get out of the way or else your stamina will be nearly completely diminished depending on how much stamina you have. He will take every opportunity he can to get his attacks in. He's very aggressive, so if you need to heal, make sure you are a good distance away. There's the parry, and that is the end of Gwyn, the Lord of Cinder. And now we have the soul of Gwyn, the Lord of Cinder. You can consume for 20,000 souls, you can feed it to Frame to New Game Plus for 40,000 souls, you can trade it in with a plus 10 straight sword to the Giant Blacksmith for the Great Lord Greatsword, or if you've achieved plus 1 rank in the Warrior of Sunlight Covenant, you can actually combine this with the Great Lightning Spear at the Sunlight Altar in order to get the Sunlight Spear Miracle. But if you thought we were done, you were wrong, because the most difficult part of Dark Souls is coming up. We now have two options before us. We can light the bonfire and link the flame, or we can leave the way we came in and usher in an Age of Dark. And I'm going to leave this choice with you. Will you succeed Lord Gwyn, fulfill Fram's desires, and continue the Age of Fire? Or will you leave the fire extinguished, achieve Kath's goal, and begin the Age of Dark? Make your selection now. And I thank you so much for joining me on this adventure, and I will see you next time.
bless thy safe return. Let Garth and Fraft serve your highness. We are here to serve your highness. Let true dark be cast upon the world. Our Lord hath returned.